Welcome to our deep dive as we explore the life and work of Sergei Rachmaninoff. I think it's fascinating to delve deeper into his personal life and creative output. It's the man behind the music that often makes the melodies even more meaningful.
Absolutely. Rachmaninoff's life, like his music, was a tapestry of emotions, contradictions, and profound experiences. Shaped his artistic vision. It's through understanding the person that we can truly grasp the depth and complexity of his compositions.
So let's start at the beginning. His early years. He was born into an aristocratic family, wasn't he? With deep musical roots.
An important point. Imagine young Rachmaninoff surrounded by music from a very young age.
Must have been completely immersed in it.
His grandfather, Arkady, was an accomplished amateur pianist, had even studied with John Field, the celebrated Irish composer,
Oh, interesting.
and his mother, Lyubov, a talented pianist in her own right. And it was she who first recognized his extraordinary gift, starting him on piano lessons at the age of 4.
So music was practically woven into his DNA. It wasn't merely an interest, it was part of his heritage.
Precisely. And this rich musical heritage extended beyond immediate family. There are even fascinating whispers of a possible connection to Moldavian royalty on his father's side, adding another layer of intrigue to his lineage.
A composer with royal blood. Interesting. But sadly, it seems that his aristocratic roots didn't shield him from financial hardship.
Unfortunately not. Despite their lineage, Rachmaninoff's family experienced significant financial struggles. His father, Vasily, a retired army officer, and perhaps not the most astute when it came to managing finances,
Happens.
to settle mounting debts. The family was forced to sell off their beloved estates one by one, ultimately leaving them to relocate to a modest apartment in St. Petersburg.
That must have been quite a jarring transition. For a young boy accustomed to a life of privilege, it makes you wonder how such a shift in circumstance might have impacted his developing personality and worldview.
Most certainly did. Those formative years, marked by both privilege and sudden loss, played a crucial role in shaping his character. He wasn't just a boy learning to play the piano, he was a young man, navigating the complexities of life, grappling with the realities of financial instability, experiencing the world through a lens colored by both beauty and hardship.
And as if the financial upheaval wasn't enough, young Rachmaninoff also faced immense personal tragedy during his childhood.
Sadly, yes, the loss of 2 sisters during his childhood cast a long shadow over his life. It's impossible to say with certainty how these events influenced his music, but it's not hard to imagine that the themes of loss, longing, and the fleeting nature of life found their way into his compositions.
It does make you think. All those experiences, they seem to paint a picture of a young man with a depth of sensitivity beyond his years.
Indeed, and this sensitivity, coupled with his innate musical talent, propelled him towards a path that would forever intertwine his life with the world of music.
It seems almost preordained. Tell me about his formal musical education. Was it a natural progression for someone with such evident talent?
It was. At the age of 9, he entered the St. Petersburg Conservatory, a prestigious institution that would further nurture his musical abilities. However, it wasn't always an easy journey. He faced challenges, struggled with discipline, even considered abandoning music altogether at one point.
Is that so? What led him to the brink of giving up his passion?
It seems the strict, some might say harsh teaching methods employed at the conservatory did not always resonate with his sensitive nature. He needed a different kind of guidance, a mentor who could understand and nurture his unique talents.
A different approach.
And did he find such a mentor? Fortunately, yes. His cousin, Alexander Solody, a renowned pianist himself, recognized the young Rachmaninoff's struggles and persuaded his mother to transfer him to the Moscow Conservatory. It proved to be a pivotal moment in his development.
A change of scenery and perhaps more importantly, a change of approach.
Exactly. At the Moscow Conservatory, he came under the tutelage of Nikolai Zverev, a demanding yet insightful teacher known for his rigorous approach to training young musicians.
This seems like a rather stark contrast to the challenges he faced in St. Petersburg.
It was. Zverev's methods were strict, yes, but they were also infused with a deep understanding of the dedication required to master the art of music. He instilled in Rachmaninoff a disciplined work ethic and a relentless pursuit of excellence.
So it seems that Zverev's demanding approach, while perhaps not suitable for everyone, was exactly what Rachmaninoff needed to flourish.
It appears so. It was a transformative period for him, not only musically, but also personally. Zverev's home became a hub for talented young musicians, fostering a sense of camaraderie and creative exchange. It was here that he formed a lifelong friendship with another musical prodigy, Alexander Scriabin.
Fascinating. Imagine those two young talents, sharing ideas, inspiring each other, pushing the boundaries of their musical explorations. What a fascinating dynamic.
It was an environment that sparked creativity and ignited a passion for pushing the boundaries of musical expression. They were both brilliant, both ambitious, and both destined to leave their mark on the world of music.
I wonder what their conversations must have been like. Two brilliant minds bouncing ideas off of each other.
But amidst the rigorous demands of the conservatory, Rachmaninoff found solace and inspiration in a place that would become deeply intertwined with his creative journey, the Ivanovka estate.
Ivanovka.
It was more than just a place. It was a source of creative energy, a sanctuary where he could connect with nature, escape the pressures of city life, and delve into the depths of his musical imagination.
Tell me more about this special place and its significance in his life. Was it merely a retreat, or did it play a more active role in shaping his musical output?
Ivanovka was an idyllic country estate, owned by his aunt and uncle, a place of tranquility and natural beauty. It was here, surrounded by rolling fields, lush forests, and the gentle flow of the Don River, that Rachmaninoff found his creative wellspring.
So it wasn't just a place to relax, it was a place to create.
Exactly. He spent countless summers at Ivanovka, composing some of his most beloved works, including his first symphony, several piano concertos, and numerous other pieces that would solidify his reputation as a musical genius.
Sounds like Ivanovka provided him with the space and inspiration he needed to truly blossom as a composer. The peace and quiet of the countryside, the connection with nature, and perhaps even the distance from the pressures of the conservatory, all seem to have played a role in nurturing his creative spirit.
You've hit upon a crucial element of Rachmaninoff's creative process. It's as if the tranquility of Ivanovka seeped into his music, imbuing it with a sense of serenity, melancholic beauty, and a deep connection to the natural world. It wasn't just a place he visited, it was a place that lived within him, shaping his musical voice and influencing his artistic vision.
It's fascinating how a specific location can have such a profound impact on an artist's work. It's as if the very essence of the place becomes infused into their creative output.
A testament to the power of environment, to shape and inspire creativity. For Rachmaninoff, Ivanovka was far more than just a country retreat. It was a wellspring of artistic inspiration, a sanctuary for his soul, and a place that would forever hold a special place in his heart, even when he was forced to leave his homeland behind.
Powerful imagery. His early success seems to have been almost effortless. From a young prodigy to a celebrated graduate of the Moscow Conservatory, his path appears to have been paved with accolades and recognition. But was it truly that smooth a journey? Were there any early hints of the self-doubt that would later plague him?
That's a perceptive question. While his talent was undeniable, and his early works were met with acclaim, the seeds of self-doubt were already present. He was a sensitive soul, deeply affected by criticism, and this vulnerability would later manifest itself in a profound way. His first major setback came with the premiere of his Symphony No. 1 in 1897. His earlier compositions had been well received, but this symphony faced a harsh reception from critics, particularly the influential composer and music critic Sergei.
What was it about this symphony that drew such criticism? Was it a radical departure from his previous works? Or were there specific elements that the critics found fault with?
Cree's review was particularly scathing, describing the symphony as inspired by the 7 plagues of Egypt, and suggesting that it would be enjoyed in hell where the audience might delight in its torments.
Oh my.
While other critics were less harsh, the overall response was negative. They focused on what they perceived as a lack of originality, an over-reliance on influences from composers like Tchaikovsky, and a certain structural weakness in the composition.
It's difficult to imagine how such criticism must have affected Rachmaninoff, especially considering his sensitive nature.
The impact was devastating. He fell into a deep depression, experiencing a creative block that lasted for nearly 3 years, a period of immense struggle, a time when his self-doubt threatened to consume his artistic spirit.
3 years is an incredibly long time for a composer to be silenced. What eventually pulled him out of this creative paralysis? Was it a sudden burst of inspiration or a gradual reawakening of his musical voice?
It was a combination of factors. He sought help from a psychiatrist, Dr. Nikolai Dahl, who used hypnotherapy and other techniques to help him regain his confidence and overcome his creative block. This therapeutic intervention played a crucial role in his recovery.
It's encouraging to hear that he sought help and found a way to navigate such a difficult period. It speaks to his strength of character and his determination to reclaim his artistic voice.
Indeed. But it wasn't solely therapy that brought him back to composing. Around the same time, he began work on his Piano Concerto No. 2, a piece that would mark a turning point in his career and become one of his most celebrated compositions.
This concerto is considered by many to be a masterpiece, full of emotional depth and technical brilliance. Does its creation flow effortlessly from a renewed sense of inspiration, or was it a struggle to bring it to life?
The composition process wasn't without its challenges, but there was a newfound sense of purpose and determination driving him. He poured his heart and soul into the concerto, and it seems that the act of creation itself became a form of catharsis, a way to process his emotional turmoil and transform it into something beautiful and enduring.
The premiere of the concerto in 1901 was a triumphant success, wasn't it? A resounding affirmation of his talent and resilience.
It was a moment of redemption. The audience responded with thunderous applause, and the critical reception was overwhelmingly positive. Rachmaninoff had not only overcome his creative block, but had produced a work of extraordinary power and beauty.
This success must have been a huge boost to his confidence, and a validation of his decision to seek help and persevere through those dark years.
Absolutely. The success of Piano Concerto No. 2 marked a turning point in his career, re-establishing him as a leading composer of his time, and setting the stage for a period of remarkable creativity.
In addition to composing, Rachmaninoff was also a highly acclaimed pianist, known for his virtuosity and the emotional depth of his performances. Did his dual roles as composer and performer ever conflict, or did they complement each other?
They were intertwined aspects of his musical identity. He often performed his own works, bringing to them a unique understanding and a depth of expression that few other pianists could match. His performances were legendary, captivating audiences with his technical brilliance, his passionate interpretations, and his ability to convey the full range of emotions embedded within his music.
It's fascinating to consider how his experiences as a performer might have influenced his approach to composition. Did he write with a specific performer in mind, or did he compose from a more abstract, purely musical perspective?
He composed primarily from his own perspective as a pianist. He understood the instrument intimately, its capabilities, its limitations, and the nuances of touch and expression that could bring a composition to life. This deep connection with the piano is evident in the virtuosity and emotional depth of his piano works.
In 1904, Rachmaninoff embarked on a new chapter in his musical journey, taking on the role of conductor at the Bolshoi Theater in Moscow. This seems like a significant departure from his previous focus on composing and performing. What drew him to this new challenge?
It was an opportunity to explore a different facet of the musical world, to work with a large orchestra, and to shape the interpretations of other composers' works. He was known for his demanding standards and his innovative approach to orchestral arrangements and conducting.
So it wasn't merely a matter of waving a baton, it was a chance to delve into the intricacies of orchestral music and to bring his own vision and artistry to the podium.
Exactly. He was deeply involved in all aspects of the production, working closely with individual musicians to refine their performances and ensure that the music was brought to life with precision and emotional depth.
His tenure at the Bolshoi was relatively short-lived, wasn't it? What led him to leave this prestigious position after only 2 seasons?
While he initially found the work stimulating, the growing social and political unrest in Russia began to take a toll on him.
Things were beginning to change.
The escalating tensions surrounding the 1905 revolution, the increasing demands from the theater staff, and perhaps a sense of disillusionment with the changing world around him all contributed to his decision to resign.
So it wasn't solely artistic considerations that led to his departure. It was the turbulent backdrop of a society on the brink of change. It makes you wonder how these external forces might have been seeping into his music, influencing his creative choices, even as he sought to maintain his artistic integrity.
You've raised a crucial point. While he wasn't overtly political in his music, it's impossible to ignore the context in which it was created, the turmoil of the time, the uncertainty, the sense of a world in flux. These elements undoubtedly shaped his artistic vision, perhaps subtly at first, but with increasing intensity as the revolution unfolded.
In 1906, seeking respite from the turmoil in Russia, Rachmaninoff moved his family to Dresden, Germany. Was this a temporary escape, or a more permanent decision to distance himself from his homeland?
It was initially intended as a temporary relocation, a chance to find peace and creative space amidst the growing chaos in Russia. Dresden offered a vibrant artistic community, and he found solace in composing. Completing his Symphony No. 2 during this period, he continued to visit Russia during the summers, returning to his beloved Ivanovka, but his primary residence shifted to Dresden.
This move to Dresden seems to mark a transition in his life, a shift away from the familiar landscapes and sounds of his homeland, towards a new, albeit temporary, existence in a foreign land. Did this experience of living abroad, of being surrounded by a different culture and language, have any noticeable impact on his music?
It's difficult to pinpoint any direct influences, but the experience of displacement, the longing for home, and the sense of being caught between two worlds, these emotions undoubtedly seeped into his subconscious, perhaps finding expression in the subtle nuances of his compositions.
It's as if the act of leaving his homeland, even temporarily, created a new layer of complexity in his artistic vision, adding a touch of melancholy and a yearning for something lost, something irretrievable.
You're to highlight the emotional undercurrents at play, while he continued to compose, perform, and find success. There was a sense of unease, an awareness that his world was shifting, and that the future held uncertainties that he could neither predict nor control.
And these uncertainties would soon transform into a stark reality, forcing him to make a life-altering decision that would forever shape his destiny.
The Russian Revolution of 1917 changed everything. It wasn't merely a political upheaval, it was a seismic shift that shattered the foundations of his world, leaving him with a heart-wrenching choice: to stay and face an uncertain future under a new regime, or to flee his beloved homeland and seek refuge elsewhere.
For someone so deeply rooted in Russian culture, leaving must have been incredibly difficult. What factors ultimately led him to choose exile?
A complex web of circumstances, but the safety of his family was paramount. The revolution plunged Russia into chaos. The future for those associated with the aristocracy, as Rachmaninoff was, looked increasingly perilous. He knew he couldn't risk the well-being of his wife and daughters.
So amidst the political upheaval and personal anxieties, he made the difficult decision to sever those deep roots, to start anew.
He did. December 1917. Rachmaninoff, his wife, and their two daughters embarked on a journey into the unknown, leaving behind everything familiar, their home, their friends, their heritage. They fled first to Scandinavia, where he resumed performing to support his family.
This move to Scandinavia marked the beginning of his life in exile, a life that would be both challenging and transformative.
Indeed, a time of significant adjustment. Imagine the weight of that decision, leaving behind everything you know to start over in a foreign land, a new language, navigate a different society, establish himself in a new musical landscape. Perhaps even more daunting was the emotional toll, the loss of his homeland, the anxieties of an emigre life, and the ever-present responsibility of providing for his family.
His primary focus shifted to performing then.
It did, to make ends meet. Rachmaninoff, the composer, took a back seat, as Rachmaninoff, the virtuoso pianist, stepped into the spotlight. He toured extensively throughout the United States and Europe, his performances becoming legendary for their technical brilliance and emotional depth.
A necessary compromise, perhaps, but I imagine a poignant one nonetheless. To silence one's creative voice, even temporarily, must have been a difficult sacrifice.
It was. He poured his energy into his performances, captivating audiences with his mastery of the piano. Yet, as you suggest, there was a sense of creative longing, a yearning to compose that was never fully extinguished.
Did this intense focus on performing impact his compositional output?
It certainly did. The demands of constant touring left little time or energy for composing. In the 24 years between his arrival in America and his death, he completed only 6 new pieces. Stands in stark contrast to the prolific output of his earlier years.
A stark reminder that even the most brilliant creative minds need space and time to flourish.
He once confessed that losing his country felt like losing a part of himself. It was as if the very source of his creative energy had been severed.
But despite this creative slowdown, he did manage to create some notable works during this period.
He did. There were glimmers of his genius shining through, moments when the urge to compose could no longer be suppressed. He completed his Piano Concerto No. 4, a work that had been in progress since 1917, and composed the 3 Russian songs, dedicated to the conductor Leopold Stokowski. These songs are particularly poignant, infused with a longing for his homeland, a bittersweet expression of love and loss.
Such a powerful testament to the enduring connection he felt to Russia, even as he built a new life for himself in America.
His Russian heritage was always with him, woven into the fabric of his being. Even in exile, he sought out connections to his homeland, finding solace in the company of fellow Russian musicians. His friendship with Vladimir Horowitz comes to mind.
Ah, yes. Their mutual respect and admiration for each other's artistry is well documented. Horowitz was a great champion of Rachmaninoff's music, wasn't he?
He was. Horowitz became renowned for his performances of Rachmaninoff's Piano Concerto No. 3, and their friendship provided a link to the world Rachmaninoff had left behind, a bond forged in shared heritage, and a mutual passion for music. A reminder that even in exile, one could find kinship and understanding.
Rachmaninoff eventually settled in the United States, but he also sought to create a haven for himself and his family, a place reminiscent of his beloved Ivanovka.
He did. He longed for a place where he could recapture the tranquility and inspiration he had found in the Russian countryside. So in 1930, he began construction of Villa Sonar in Switzerland, a beautiful estate overlooking Lake Lucerne.
Villa Sonar became his sanctuary, I believe.
It did. It was more than just a home. It was a retreat, a place to reconnect with nature, and a space where his creative spirit could reawaken. He spent his summers at Villa Sonar, composing, gardening, and enjoying time with his family. It was during these idyllic summers that he composed two of his later masterpieces, Rhapsody on a Theme of Paganini and Symphony No. 3.
These works, composed in the peace and tranquility of Villa Sonar, demonstrate that even in exile, his creative fire continued to burn, albeit in a different form.
These later works are fascinating because they reveal a composer still evolving, still exploring new possibilities within his musical language. While they retain elements of his signature romantic style, they also incorporate new influences and demonstrate a greater willingness to experiment with form and structure.
So while the loss of his homeland undoubtedly had a profound impact on him, it didn't extinguish his creative spirit. He found new ways to express himself, new sources of inspiration, and new paths to explore within the vast landscape of music.
Even as his health began to decline in the early 1940s, he continued to perform, driven by a deep commitment to his art and a desire to connect with audiences. But his final years were marked by illness. He was diagnosed with an aggressive form of melanoma and passed away in his Beverly Hills home in 1943, just days before his 70th birthday.
What a remarkable life. Rachmaninoff's journey was a tapestry of triumphs and tragedies, artistic brilliance and profound loss. Forced to flee his homeland, he rebuilt his life in exile, never forgetting his roots, yet always striving to adapt and evolve. His music continues to resonate with listeners across generations and cultures. His story serves as a reminder of the power of resilience and the enduring beauty of artistic expression. It makes you wonder how differently things might have turned out. Had he stayed in Russia, would we have the same Rachmaninoff? The same body of work? It's a question we can only ponder, but it adds another layer of complexity to his already fascinating legacy. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the life and music of Sergei Rachmaninoff.
It was a pleasure.